Breaking news, a tense confrontation is unfolding on the open sea. The Global Sumud Flotilla has declared an emergency as Israeli naval forces draw near. What exactly transpired on board? Stay tuned as this story rapidly develops. We're bringing you comprehensive coverage of every detail. Greetings and welcome back to the channel. Today, we cover a critical and evolving situation making global headlines. The Sumud Flotilla, a civilian-led aid convoy trying to reach Gaza, has declared a state of emergency aboard their vessels. Confirmed reports indicate that Israeli naval units are swiftly moving to intercept the convoy. This encounter has sparked immediate concern among human rights organizations and international observers alike. The flotilla, loaded with humanitarian aid, has long served as a symbol of resistance against the Israeli blockade on Gaza. While the organizers insist their mission is entirely peaceful, they are prepared for obstacles. As the ships navigated contested waters, their communications started to weaken. Without warning, the flotilla coordinators announced the loss of live camera feeds, noticed unlit vessels trailing them, and said interception by Israeli forces was imminent. This emergency declaration wasn't merely a formality, but a desperate appeal to the global community. They wanted the world to understand the severity of their predicament. Within hours, major news networks provided updates, and activist social media channels exploded with calls for support. In this video, we will guide you through every phase of this escalating crisis. From the flotilla's background and the political tensions involved, to the interception maneuvers and worldwide reactions. Stay with us as we divide this story into 10 segments, each illuminating a vital element of this perilous sea standoff. The Sumud Flotilla is more than just a humanitarian convoy. It's part of a decades-long saga of maritime efforts challenging the Gaza blockade. Since the early 2000s, diverse international groups of activists, humanitarians, and political figures have endeavored to sail aid into Gaza, delivering medicines and vital supplies. Each operation stirs controversy and often leads to confrontations with Israeli forces. The word Sumud means steadfastness in Arabic, embodying the organizers' vision of resilience amid overwhelming adversity. This particular flotilla drew worldwide attention before departing, carrying activists from multiple countries, journalists, and volunteers determined to confront what they deem an illegal blockade. From the outset, they warned of anticipated Israeli resistance. Historical precedents include warnings, blockades, and notably the 2010 raid resulting in fatalities and international condemnation, a haunting legacy looming over this mission. This context underscores the gravity of the emergency declaration. The organizers knowingly faced immense risks, yet hoped live broadcasts and international witnesses would deter escalation. When those feeds suddenly ceased, fear and suspicion surged. Had history doomed to repeat itself? Was another violent naval raid imminent? These pressing questions quickly circulated online, fueling anxiety and global debate over the coming hours. As the flotilla proceeded, numerous sources reported suspicious maritime activity nearby. Unlit vessels allegedly shadowed the convoy, approaching perilously close, causing tension among those aboard. Then, communications faltered completely, and the organizers announced the wiping out of camera transmissions. This critical juncture compelled them to issue a formal emergency declaration, both to alert the world and as a protective measure. By making it public, they ensured that media, governments, and human rights organizations understood the urgency and danger facing the flotilla. Eyewitnesses recounted scenes of alarm. Volunteers initiated emergency procedures, distributing life jackets and sending last messages before signals vanished. Some activists filmed statement videos anticipating possible detention or confrontation. Journalists on board struggled to maintain contact with newsrooms amid unstable channels. The looming possibility of sudden Israeli naval engagement cast a heavy shadow. For those aboard, the unpredictability, the when, how, and where was even more chilling than the threat itself. Online, hashtags like FenFlotEmergency and FA Save the Flotilla surged, as supporters worldwide tagged governments and international bodies to advocate for diplomatic intervention before violence erupted. The tension amplified beyond the sea, spreading through digital spaces watched by millions. Israel has consistently defended its policy intercepting flotillas bound for Gaza, arguing these missions often carry political motives and pose security risks, including potential weapons smuggling. Israeli officials assert humanitarian aid already enters Gaza through official border crossings subject to thorough security screening. Contrarily, activists and human rights defenders reject this narrative, insisting the blockade suffocates Gaza's 2.3 million residents, severely restricting aid, freedom of movement, and economic survival. For supporters, the flotilla isn't merely about delivering supplies. It symbolizes a steadfast message of resistance and international solidarity with Palestinians. Within this frame, the emergency declaration signifies more than a maritime incident. It marks a flashpoint in the broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Globally, the Mediterranean has become a focal point of heated debate, with diplomats, NGOs, and celebrities weighing in on social media, either condemning Israel's blockade or backing its security rationale. For Israel, intercepting the flotilla embodies upholding sovereignty and deterring future challenges. They refuse to let such missions succeed, fearing it would encourage further attempts. Conversely, activists see reaching Gaza without interception as a monumental triumph that would expose the blockade's vulnerability and spotlight international backing for Gaza's people. Thus, this confrontation is far more than ships at sea. It is a contest over power, legitimacy, and the shaping of global narratives. Both sides remain resolute, setting the stage for a high-stakes encounter. When Israeli naval forces closed in, tensions sharply escalated. Reports indicate speedboats surrounded the flotilla. Historically, Israeli commandos have boarded ships under cover of darkness, occasionally sparking violent clashes. Those aboard were sharply aware of this precedent, intensifying their apprehension. Witnesses report loudspeaker announcements ordering the flotilla to alter course toward an Israeli port for inspection. The activists adamantly refused, citing international law and their right to navigate international waters freely. This defiance set the confrontation in motion. On board, emotions mixed defiance with fear. Some participants waved flags and held banners to signal peaceful intentions, while others documented the approaching naval vessels as evidence of their nonviolent stance. Yet many braced for the possibility of a forceful boarding. Human rights observers emphasized the critical nature of this moment. Would Israel exercise restraint, or would the event escalate into another international crisis? The world watched intensely, each second ticking by like a countdown to potential chaos. Meanwhile, global governments were briefed. European officials issued cautious appeals for calm, while activist home countries sought assurances for their citizens' safety. The flotilla's emergency declaration, alongside Israel's naval maneuvers, rendered the situation impossible to overlook. This was set to become one of the most dramatic maritime standoffs in recent memory, with unpredictable consequences. As events unfolded, international reactions intensified. News outlets provided continuous coverage as political leaders faced mounting pressure to respond. Families of activists and supporters launched online campaigns demanding urgent diplomatic measures. The European Union voiced concern, urging maximum restraint, while the United Nations called on all parties to uphold international law protecting navigation freedoms and civilian safety. Several Middle Eastern governments condemned Israel's actions as unlawful and provocative. Conversely, Israel's allies justified its security stance. U.S. officials affirmed Israel's right to secure its borders and prevent arms smuggling, despite activists maintaining their cargo was strictly humanitarian. This split underscored profound global divisions regarding the Gaza situation. Meanwhile, videos of activists waving flags, chanting slogans, and documenting their ordeal circulated widely, igniting outrage and sympathy. Pro-Palestinian demonstrations erupted in cities such as London, Paris, and Istanbul, with placards reading "Save the Flotilla" and denouncing the blockade. To the activists on board, this international attention brought solace and concern, proof the world was watching, but also fear that official statements might arrive too late to prevent violence. The psychological strain was immense. By this point, the flotilla had already achieved a key objective. It had captured global awareness. Yet the question remained whether it could survive the imminent confrontation intact. This mission's importance transcends the delivery of aid. It is a battle over narratives. For Palestinians and their advocates, the flotilla represents resistance against oppression, part of a global movement opposing what they see as collective punishment of Gaza. For Israel and its supporters, it symbolizes provocation, a sovereignty challenge, and a potential cover for hostile agendas. This clash of narratives plays out vividly in media portrayals. Some international outlets highlight humanitarian motives, others focus on security concerns. The language choice, aid mission versus provocative flotilla, greatly shapes public perception. Activists on board recognized this narrative battle's power. Many recorded preemptive messages addressed to the world in case they were detained or silenced, emphasizing nonviolence, humanitarian necessity, and global solidarity. Declaring the emergency ensured their voices resonated worldwide despite communication blackouts. For Israel, blocking the flotilla is not just about one voyage. It's about setting precedent, signaling that civilian convoys challenging the blockade will face consequences. If the flotilla succeeds, it could inspire more missions and undermine Israeli policies. Hence, this confrontation couples physical conflict with psychological, political, and symbolic struggles. Both sides vie not only for control of the Mediterranean waters, but also for mastery over the narrative. In today's information era, controlling the story can wield power equal to controlling the battlefield. As the crisis dragged on, uncertainty gripped both the flotilla and global observers. Some reports indicated Israeli forces had already boarded vessels. Others said the flotilla was maneuvering to delay confrontation. Conflicting accounts made understanding the situation difficult, a common chaos in high-pressure incidents. That's why the emergency declaration was crucial. It served as a unified signal cutting through confusion. Aboard, every minute felt like precious borrowed time, the threat of sudden force omnipresent. Yet, amid the tension, many activists continued singing, praying, and standing firm, viewing themselves as spokespersons for millions of Gazans. Observers noted the psychological nature of Israeli tactics, surrounding, cutting communications to undermine morale before boarding. Resisting required remarkable courage and unity. Meanwhile, media coverage held global audiences captive. Headlines about the flotilla's emergency and pending interception dominated news cycles. The story had become impossible to ignore. No matter the final outcome, the flotilla had succeeded in refocusing the world's attention on Gaza. But the ultimate question lingered: would the confrontation conclude peacefully or erupt into violence? By now, the flotilla's emergency had escalated into a full international incident. Behind the scenes, diplomatic efforts sought to diffuse tensions, but the naval standoff continued. Activist families provided heartfelt interviews, pleading for their loved ones' safety. Humanitarian groups called for allowing international observers to monitor the situation. The flotilla's symbolism is profound. For many, it represents ordinary individuals daring to challenge military power. For others, it embodies unnecessary risk that could provoke violence. This polarization intensified an already charged global debate. Meanwhile, in Gaza, residents followed news with mixed emotions, hope mingled with dread. The flotilla was a sign they hadn't been forgotten, yet fears grew that the mission might end tragically, as in the past. Some activists recorded last messages, appealing to the world to remember why they sailed, highlighting Gaza's children deprived of medicine, families trapped under blockade, and the urgent need for dignity and freedom. These messages resonated online, sparking widespread empathy and engagement. At this critical juncture, every option was fraught with danger. If Israel withdrew, activists would claim victory. If Israel used force, it risked unleashing another global backlash. Either way, the world's attention was riveted and the stakes enormous. This was more than a maritime standoff. It was a test of wills, diplomacy, and how far ordinary people can go in challenging entrenched power structures. As we wrap up this in-depth report, the flotilla's future remains uncertain, but its impact undeniable. By declaring the emergency and drawing global focus, the Sumud Flotilla compelled international audiences to confront the harsh realities of Gaza's blockade and Israel's naval policies. This mission highlighted the bravery of activists risking their lives for a cause, alongside Israel's resolve to enforce its blockade at any cost. The confrontation thrust Gaza back to the center of worldwide headlines, reminding all of an unresolved humanitarian crisis. No matter how this episode ends, it will leave lasting consequences, potentially affecting diplomatic relations, encouraging future flotillas, and shaping debates about navigation rights and humanitarian access. For now, all eyes remain fixed on the Mediterranean. If you found this detailed analysis helpful, please stay connected with our channel for updates. We provide verified, clear, and thorough information so you always grasp the bigger picture. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay informed. Share this video to raise awareness about these critical events. Together, we can ensure these important stories are heard.